Giving all praises and glory to our power Yahweh. Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Yasharal Shalom. Now, this ain't gonna be long at all. It's not really much to talk about, but it's interesting. I actually saw this a couple days ago, and it keeps popping back up. So I'm just going to chop it up real quick about this. So it says Congress wants to tie the United States to Israel with this new legislation. Right? Congress wants to tie the United States to Israel with this new legislation. Right? Israel and its lobby will use Section 224 of the National Defense Authorization Act to bind the U.S. to a state that has gone rogue. And that's just what I'm reading here. All right. So Congress is considering legislation that would embed Israel's military deeply within the U.S. military-industrial complex. Stunned by the cratering of public support for Israeli policies in Gaza, Lebanon, and the West Bank, and towards Iran, because we know that the Israelis are attempting, it's under orders, but under the guy on the left of the screen here, all right, to achieve what is known as the Greater Israel Project, all right, and people are waking up to the establishment of the SOI, all right, from the 1948 Balfour Declaration, okay, and many other things, spotlighting Esau. People are waking up to a lot of his BS. But anyways, continuing on with this point here, it says, stunned by the cratering of public support for Israeli policies in Gaza, Lebanon, and the West Bank, and towards Iran, Israel's advocates are frantically seeking to preserve and even escalate U.S. support for the Jewish state in ways that do not rely on defense of its policies or permit scrutiny of the manipulations involved. We all know that America heavily funds and backs up the SOI, all right? Everybody knows that without a shadow of a doubt. So it says politically, this means avoiding public discussions of Israeli policies in Gaza, um, Lebanon, the West Bank, or Iran, and disguising the sources of massive amounts of money pouring into election races to defeat candidates, raising questions about U.S. support for Israel. See, I just said that. See, the proposed, which they send them, money anyways, constantly. All right, those people damn near live free, if you want to say that. Not exactly free, but free enough because they're heavily funded by America. A lot of that comes from the American taxpayer dollars, and nowhere in the Bible does it mention the Lord's people. All right, being funded by another country and so on and so forth. All right, they're supposed to heavily rely on the Lord. Right, so just one of many points that just constantly show you that these people are not the true people. But anyways, because that's not the point right now. So it says, U.S. support for Israel. The proposed legislation shows that this means bureaucratically. News of Section 224 of the National Defense Authorization Act, a section that would deeply intertwine the U.S. and Israeli militaries by committing to bilateral research and development. So note that this is not talking about merging their standing armies, all right? These are talking about integrating other things, all right? So basically a major assist, but it doesn't mean like the U.S. Army and the Israeli Army are one army, all right? That's not what it's talking about. It sounds like it the way the bill is worded, but it's not that though, and it's not exactly passed yet. It's like I said, I saw this a couple of days ago, but I wasn't sure if it was real. You know how some things you don't know if it's real or fake or what, all right? And then you want more things to come out about it. Like I said, it keeps popping up. So, anyways, yes, here you go. It says committing to bilateral research and development, co-production of weapons, joint ventures. Joint ventures could be anything, all right? Joint ventures could be, not authorized because of course they have authority, but organizing, boots on the ground with operations. But it's hard to say because what do you think has been going on already, right? When they launched against Iran. All right, this last time it was a joint operation. They both had their own reasons for launching. Because I think America was called. No, I forget what America was called, but I know the SOI had the Lion's Roar or something like that, and I forget what the operation was that America launched. These was two different operations, but they launched them jointly, all right, together, all right. So it wasn't the militaries were integrated, all right. Their reasons for attacking Iran had different reasons, but they operated together in order to carry out a task. So joint ventures could be anything. It could be what we're talking about here, the technologies and other things of that nature, but it could also be able to be talking about doing more military operations. We don't know. So, anyways, licensing agreements and an unprecedented integration of the U.S. and Israelis. There you go, right there. Weapons industries triggered an immediate backlash led by Representative Thomas Massie, a Republican from Kentucky, and Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, to strip the section from the defense budget. All right, the origins of this addition to the defense budget tells us much about how Israel's lobby pursues a foreign country's interest, even as 60% of Americans now hold an unfavorable view of Israel. Yep, because that's what you have. You even had, military, ex-military guys talking about that we don't want to fight these wars because we're fighting for the SOI, not for who we signed up to fight for, which is our country, America. So people are saying these things. More and more people are saying, like, no, we don't want to fight because we don't want to fight for the SOI because we're not fighting for Babylon. We're fighting for the SOI, so we don't want to fight, right? So yeah, I'm gonna read that one again. The origin of this addition to the defense budget tells us much about how Israel's lobby, all right, is its own goals and pursuits of what it's trying to achieve, which is ultimately the Greater Israel Project. Pursues a foreign country's, America, interest, even as 60% of Americans now hold an unfavorable view of Israel. All right. Now, of course, you can read more of this article for yourself or any other place. This is from the Guardian. Excuse me. I'm gonna grab this. Actually, I'm gonna leave that because I need to come back. So I had over here. Well, I typed it all in. All right. Same thing. So Congress has advanced a proposal within the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act (NDAA) that would deeply combine the U.S. and Israeli military industrial bases, known as Section 224, or which I don't have that pulled up. You can probably pull it up yourself. It's just going to give us some of the same information, maybe a couple other things, but nothing. Like I said, it's nothing too deep because it's not like they're merging the actual standing militaries or whatever, right? That was the major thing. Maybe want to let me just look back into this thing again. Okay, so it's not that. Which I think I typed it in down below, right, to get a clear answer on it. So, anyways, known as Section 224 or the Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. This provision will move the two nations beyond a traditional foreign aid framework towards structural, institutional, military integration. See, that throws you off because you think they're merging militaries. No, they're merging, starting to work on other things. All right. But if I'm gonna copy that and now paste it so I can pull it up on the screen. I'm not gonna go into it, but just so you can see it as we finish this off. So core elements of Section 224, which we might have to. But anyways, the legislative text introduced in the House Armed Services Committee outlines a sweeping mandate for cooperation across modern warfare systems. All right, technology sharing mandates coordination in fields including artificial intelligence. Of course, that would have to be up here. Number one thing, huh? Artificial intelligence, AI, quantum technology, autonomous systems. Yeah, and so real quick, because you have an Iron Dome for the East, and then over here you got number 47 talking about what a Golden Dome, and you know what's beautiful about that? Which I'm not saying this is a link to anything. I'm just putting a sticky note on the side of your device right now. All right, so you have the Iron Dome, and we know these Amalekites are a branch house of the Edomites. So collectively, all of these so-called white people today, they are Edomites. All right, and who was the Iron Legs of the Daniel 2 statue? All right, who did the iron represent? The ancient Roman Empire. Today is revived as Babylon the Great. So these Edomites still live and still thrive today. Those same people. And then you have number 47 talking about a golden dome. And I talked about this before, where you had the golden head of that statue, which represented Neo-Babylonian Empire. And the scriptures also tell us that America is Babylon the Great. So it's beautiful how, like I said, not tying this to anything, but it's just, just how certain things link up without even linking up, if that makes sense. Right? With Iron Dome, Iron Legs, Golden Head. All right, these things are just not things that are random. Okay, Ecclesiastes 1, there's nothing new under the sun. But anyways, let's get back on point. All right. Um, Quantum technology, autonomous systems, yeah, all the defense systems and things of that nature. Look, directed energy, so-called laser beams, cyber technology, and look, biotechnology. That's interesting. Biotechnology. Why you need that? Chemical warfare, maybe? Probably not. Anyways, and because I'm not gonna about to dig deeper into this. And I see there's a couple. I'm looking at these tabs at the end. Leon is one of my number one news stations that I check out, and also I think this is Middle East Eye, if I'm correct, because I have used that before from time to time, where it says below next to Instagram. I believe that's the Middle East Eye. Not gonna click on it though. All right, but anyways, you can see I know these news stations, right? um, Industrial merger establishes a framework for bilateral research and development, or R&D, weapon co-production, joint defense ventures, which is what we mentioned before, right? What could this, entail, right? And technology licensing agreements, systems and interconnection, authorizes network integration and data fusion, essentially allowing shared military data pipelines between both countries. Data fusion, interesting. Dedicated management requires the U.S. Defense Secretary to appoint a specific Pentagon executive agent tasked solely with managing and expanding this joint initiative. All right, why this shit is happening? Da 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 da. All right. So yeah, let me get down here. Yep. Does this include merger and military? Because that's what I really want to know. This is why I want to go into this whole topic in the first place. So I had to type it in. I just wanted to get a clear answer, and it says no. All right. So they say. Now I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying I asked the question. They're saying no. No, Section 224 does not include a merger of U.S. and Israeli military personnel, forces, or command structures. And I mentioned that because the way that these articles are titled and the headlines about what's going on, and then the Section 224, all these different things are worded. You at first thought you were like, hold on, are they merging militaries? Are they making one military? Okay, because immediately, some scriptures flew past my head, like, what are they doing here? Okay, but no, that's why I want to, ask it, the question. So the integration proposed in the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, applies strictly to the military, industrial, technological, and data pipelines of both nations rather than their active duty soldiers. All right, the boundaries of the legislation explicitly clarify what is and is not being merged, what is excluded. No personnel merger. All right, so they're making that clear. No combined command. There is no creation of a joint unified military command structure. American troops will remain entirely under the U.S. chain of command, and Israeli troops under the IDF. But that doesn't stop America from backing up these the SOI. Okay, and American people hating it. No combined ranks, soldiers, pilots, and naval personnel are not being integrated into shared units or a single fighting force. Standard exchanges only. The bill mentions information exchanges and joint military exercises. But see, there you go. They're not merging, but still joint military exercises because these American troops have unwillingly become uh, allies of the SOI because the government has already been allies, all right, for centuries before a lot of these people ever joined the military. So you go in joint military exercises, which because everybody's doing what? Preparing for war. Joel 3 and 9, wake up the mighty men, prepare war. Okay. Um, which are a standard practice for international allies. I should have just kept reading. International allies and do not legally combine personnel. What is actually included? Technology and industry. All right, systems and hardware, supply chain integration, industrial partnerships, data and software fusion, linking network software, cybersecurity frameworks, and artificial intelligence. They're mentioning that again. Models so the two militaries can rapidly share operational data. All right, so there you go. So yeah, so very interesting, but this is why I had to look into it more because the wording throws you off. This is not merging their militaries per se, but so let me open up another tab so I can type this in for you. Paste. Actually, wait, was that it? Hold on. Let me go back. Okay, yeah. I probably could just use that. Get off my clipboard. Here we go. So yeah, see that leads back to the Guardian article that we just used. You can go pick it up anywhere. Times of Israel. I went into that before. Um, so these different things. So yeah. So we don't even have to dig any deeper. I will go and read that Joel since I mentioned that scripture, because ultimately all things going to come to a head, on the Lord's time. But I want to get one more scripture after this, and we'll close it out. Joel 3:9. Proclaim thee this among the Gentiles, these heathens. Okay, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, all your men of war. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong. This is what they're doing. Or I guess, because it hasn't, this bill hasn't completely passed yet. But I guess this is what they're, about to prepare to do. Okay, but as it mentioned, they're, little military systems, AI, all these different things are about to start working more closely together. And then also mentions joint military drills. So, but we know why that is, because World War III is coming, and they are both going to play a part in that. So assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, to gather yourselves together round about. Did the cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh Bashem Shah, because eventually the angels are going to be here. Revelation 12:12, right? Esau is going to fight in his army, he's going to lose. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Ahoshapat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Right, put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fast overflow, for the wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shah is near in the valley of decision, which is back there in the so-called Middle East, right, over there in Asia. Okay, and it goes on to talk about the missiles and things of that nature. All right, see if I find the scripture, Lord willing, it comes up, because I can't remember where it is right now. Yeah, I think that's it. The Wadi Yahweh Shah. So, let's just get 2 and 3. Isaiah 31:2. Yet he also is wise and will bring evil, and will not call back his words, but will arise against the house of the evildoers, Esau, and against the help of them that work iniquity. See, now the Egyptians, right, were the modern day, well, not modern day, but spiritual Sodom and Egypt is talking about America. All right, it says that Isaiah 19, the Lord shall roar out of, I think it says out of Egypt, but something like that. I forget how it's worded. But anyways, now the Egyptians are men and not God, and the horse is flesh and not spirit. When the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth, all right, join together, allies, whoever it may be, he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down together. And even even on a smaller level, like you have 2/3 of our people who are going to come against the ministry, all right, to join up with whatever Esau has thrown at them and deceive them with. But anyways, right, he that is hoping shall fall down, and they shall fail together, right? Because ultimately, both places are going to go down, both states, all right? The United States and the SOI states, right? Or state, okay? So yeah, I just wanted to get that because I wanted to get to read that scripture there. It says, "Who that hopeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they shall fail together." All right, because ultimately they're both going down. Okay. Oh, let me get 4 because we always quote this one. For thus hath the Lord Yahweh spoken unto me, like as the lion and the young lion roaring on his prey. What it says, Zephaniah 3:8, wait ye upon me to the day that I rise up to pray to the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shah, sends back Yah Lord Yahweh Shah with the angels, right? When a multitude of shepherds is called forth against him, he will not be afraid of their voice. Who? Yahushua, nor abase himself for the noise of them. Going right directly into 2 Ezra, the 13th chapter, where they're all going to start fighting each other to fight against Yahushua, the angels, and be dusted, right? Daniel style. Abase himself for the noise of them. All right, so shall the Lord Yahweh, because he already did that. He already came low and humble and meek and allowed himself to be captured, persecuted, crucified, because he had a purpose to fulfill. Okay, not this time. This time his purpose is war. So you definitely not going to take him down in his glorified state, because he had power then, but he wasn't allowed to use it. Okay, because he would upset prophecy, and that's not, he's not going to go outside the lines of what the Lord's got going on. which is why we have this troop now, because he completed his mission, completely completed his mission perfectly. So it says, nor abase himself for the noise of them. So shall the Lord Yahweh Basham al Shah host means army, come down to fight for Mount Zion and for the hill thereof. Okay, because ultimately Yahweh Shah is going to be sent to take control of this realm, all right, in this earth, okay, and establish the kingdom of heaven. And these two nations who are growing closer and closer together. Meanwhile, Babylon the Great is growing further and further away from its other allies, the NATO, right, by threatening them and so on and so forth. And we constantly talk about that when these things happen. We the lessons that we title as the wedge, right? But this is more so with the SOI in Babylon. Okay, so very interesting. But like I said, the reason why I went into it because I want to know if they were merging militaries. Like, this is interesting. What are they doing here? Okay, this is unheard of, but no, it's not the militaries. It's just a bunch of other things, which surprisingly, but not surprisingly, also includes AI and things of that nature. I think it says something about a weapon system or lasers or something like that. So yeah. So that's it on that. I'm gonna leave it at that. Lord willing, you edify to next thing Yahshua I'm gonna say. Shalom.